This time on Animal Storm Squad.
Just cubs, or did you see any adult bears?
A mother cat races through flames to bring her kittens to safety.
She's freaking.
Karissa digs deep in the search for orphaned bear cubs.
Did you hear that?
What is that right there?
Dustin tries to sweet-talk horses to safety.
Back up, back up!
All of this, as one of the largest fires in Washington State's history, puts thousands of pets and wildlife in danger.
We're not leaving here without them.
When disaster strikes, the Animal Storm Squad is on the case.
Oh my goodness. Guys, I am joined. Hang on, I gotta navigate. Are you guys good? You getting in? Oh, that was really easy for you guys. All right. Give it up. Animal Storm Squad, everybody. What if we did this whole thing and didn't acknowledge once there's adorable creatures in our laps right now? This is how we roam. This is how we get around. This is a normal day for us. So guys, thank you so much for being here. Congratulations on the show, Animal Storm Squad. Real quick, do we know the names for our other little guests here? I don't know if we do or not, right? Do we?
The puppy that you have, I believe, is Olaf.
Olaf.
Onyx, right here.
Onyx.
And I don't think there are names for the kittens yet.
Got it. Now, I've been told Olaf's a little wiggly, so I'm going to have a good time with him over here today. Guys, I love, right out of the gate, I love this show. I love the idea of this show. I'm super excited about this show. Nat Geo Wild, in particular, has a knack for taking a show that you already kind of love and then like, how can we get puppies and kittens in there involved, right? So this is a pretty amazing thing. A lot of excitement, a lot of real stakes. You guys are saving lives. Take me back. Forget about the cameras for a second. When did this start? When did you guys start doing this and like helping out these animals? And how does this journey kind of begin?
So the journey began for me when I was really young. Always have had a passion for animals of all kind, and I've also had a passion for extreme weather, particularly tornadoes. On May 20th, 2013, Moore, Oklahoma was hit by a very devastating EF5 tornado. 20 people tragically lost their lives, many more injured, hundreds of animals either killed or displaced. A friend of Dustin and I, Dave Holder, he's a meteorologist, and he was tracking the storm that day, and he came across a litter of kittens, 5 kittens that had been displaced. The mother had lost her life in the storm, and he called me. I'm a veterinary assistant back home, and he knew that I could help him, step him through how to take care of these kittens. So I spent countless hours from my home in Whitby, Ontario, making calls to any vet clinic or shelter, and whether the phone lines were down or the clinics had been destroyed, there was no help. So sadly, 3 out of those 5 kittens passed away the next day. They did bring them to the shelter, and the shelter did try everything, but it was just too late from the time when the kittens got displaced from the mother to the help. So from that moment on, I just thought, I never want to see an animal lose its life, and I want to try my best to get an organization together, and then I formed Never Stop Saving after that.
For sure. And Dustin, you have a pretty amazing background. I was reading that you were EMS sort of like coordinator, and you were like a firefighter for a little while or something. Like, is that true?
Yeah. I was into animals and exploration and all that as a kid, inspired by Jacques Cousteau and reading.
Sure.
I have boxes and boxes of like Nat Geo magazines in my parents' garage. But aside from that, my story in all this goes back to being a volunteer firefighter and medic in New Mexico. And I got a call one day to go work on a show that involved storm chasing and be a field medic. And that spun into ended up going down to Argentina and coordinating trips, storm chasing trips down there, and then that spun into having my own extreme weather adventure company. We take people out and do tornado chases and photography, and then that ended up with Karissa and I meeting through my business partner, Jeff. And this is how we got introduced to Karissa and this storm chasing, and all of us banding together who are all passionate about animals and meteorology and working with our communities and kind of teaching the reach, and Karissa really helped pull that all together.
It's amazing. So that's right. You were, I think I said driver on a storm chaser kind of show similar before. What's one of the biggest difference? Obviously, with the pet's focus, but what's sort of the experience? How's it differ so far, like working, on this show?
it's a huge difference. Before, one of our goals, we were assisting with research and also doing videography and photography. We would drive in a specially developed vehicle, right next to large, devastating tornadoes to get our instrumentation to tornadoes and get the best video coverage possible. Now, our goal is to track the storms, be there as they're happening, and then once a town is hit, then we go into play, and we'll go ahead and get out, pull our vehicles over, we'll get out, assess the area that we're looking at, the damage path. I'm just kind of quickly going over it, and then we'll come up with a plan to go out and search the area, one segment at a time, for displaced animals, injured animals, and we also have the capability to respond to people as well. I mean, people are very important, and that story, we all know what happens to people in large-scale natural disasters, but the real story that hasn't been told yet is that of the animals when there's a natural disaster, and that's what we're here to tell.
And that's what I was saying, like, I love about this show, is because you've seen, kind of storm chasers and things like that before, and a lot of people don't realize, like, that data is super important to have. It helps us in sort of understanding the storm forecasting, preparing, and better. But there is, aside from just, like, who doesn't want to save these little guys? I mean, look at it. There are a lot more stakes there. The show becomes a lot more engaging. I find myself, like, I'm really invested because it's like, oh, man, we got to save these kittens. Like, we've got to do this. So, like, the show, you're kind of almost on the edge of your seat, kind of like watching these things happen and unfold, like, experience, story to story, right? I imagine that was, like, what would talk to me a little bit like a day of filming? Like, how are you guys, are you aware of the cameras? You're focused on getting the animals and sort of, like, that's kind of the game plan, right? That's where you're...
Yeah, so we, Never Stop Saving had done a few deployments before there were even cameras or this Nat Geo Wild opportunity. So for our first deployment, I'd say it was a little bit tricky manipulating or working around the cameras, but after a few days, it just really flowed. They knew that they had to keep up with me because I'm just always going.
It gets a little crazy with Karissa,
and just to stay out of our way and get the best shot possible. And it just means that there's more people and more hands that can help as well, because we've always had amazing, production guys on staff with us. They have big hearts for animals too, so. Half the time they want to put the cameras down to help as well.
And these are guides. I mean, it's really important when you're working in these environments and you're producing a show, and ours is really neat because it's a reality show. It's really happening. A town just got hit. Oh.
Okay, keep going.
A town we got. Here we go. Should we? Here, Chris.
Hey.
Do we have one of our handlers to help?
Yeah, don't chase it.
Yeah.
All right.
We can see his tail. He's moving.
He's checking out.
We've got a line on him.
Got a line on him. He's right there. I don't feel like rescuing today. So
well, it's funny.
We're
we were
climbing
saying
under the stage.
It's okay if somebody wants. Yeah, come on in and grab the cat. So it's funny. We were talking backstage. Like, should we have the animals with us? And they're like, well, what if they jump around? I was like, God, I hope they do. Right? Like, that's the fun part. That's an animal being an animal. Yeah, it's all good. Go ahead. Make sure our little buddy is safe and sound back there. There we are. Yeah. So, yeah, he's fine. He's fine.
This stuff happens to us in the field. You just have to figure it out.
I have to imagine you guys have retrieved cats from far more perilous conditions than behind the stage. Yeah. So I'm sure. Is that the best idea? Honest. Don't get me wrong. I would love to. I would.
Well, when we're out there, we have guys that have worked on shows that take them all over the world in really harsh and disruptive environments. So when they're working with us, they know how to interact with the cast. They know how to move. They know how to be safe. They look after us, and we actually look after them. It's one big team out there. No one's by themselves. We all work very hard to integrate with each other and take care of each other. So it's a bit of a family that's out there.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I want to talk to you a little bit about, Karissa, you had said, like, people keeping up with you, right? You're sort of like the leader, right? The de facto kind of leading the charge. Was that, hosting a show in general is like a whole sort of skill set. Have you always been sort of that leadership person? Is that like a trick you've had in your little tool bag of tricks for a long time? Or did doing this work kind of bring that out in you and like you found that side doing this, like saving these animals?
Doing this work really brought the leadership out of me because because I just always grew up doing rescue work in my own neighborhood. So if someone's cat went missing and they posted on social media, then posted a picture at the vet clinic, I'd go into that area and I kind of worked solo or just with that owner. So not only being now the founder of Never Stop Saving, but I guess it's so weird to say the host of Animal Storm Squad, you've kind of been thrown into this leadership role, and we all have very strong personalities, but I mean, I've got a great group of team members, and we all respect each other, and we can voice our opinions, and if Dustin disagrees, then I want to hear what his opinions are. It's not just about me, it's about us, and it's about the animals and getting them to safety.
For sure. I want to get back to Never Stop Saving in a second, but Dustin, I also want to talk a little bit, what do you think kind of your role has become on the team, and like, what are you bringing there, and what's your kind of like your greatest and strongest contribution, do you feel?
God, it's like, it's funny because I do a lot of stuff. I'm a logistics guy with my fire and EMS background. I also do safety, but I think one of the harder parts of my job is that I operate this big vehicle. We have a customized Ford Raptor that we built for storm chasing. It's a pretty amazing truck that we've developed over the years, and it carries a lot of our technical gear in it. And all that gear is in Taos, New Mexico, where we store it in a special locker up there. So when I get called into action, these guys are usually 24 hours ahead of me. And what I have to do is take a flight from LAX to Albuquerque. From Albuquerque, New Mexico, I have a 4-hour car ride up to Taos, New Mexico, and that usually gets me there between 3:30 and 4 in the morning, the way these deployments work out. And then I basically pack the car, brush my teeth, jump in the shower, get freshened up, and then I get in the car because I'm not going to be able to have a break for the next 48 hours. And I drive straight to a location, and that could be anywhere between an 8-hour drive or an 18-hour drive. And then once I get there, if it's, if we're still in daylight operational hours, I just go right to work.
And what he's not saying is he's obsessed with gear. So he could talk about like our catch poles or our tomahawk nets for like hours. We've argued about it all the time. So he's definitely like, if we're in a situation and I say,
what's a
what gear?
tomahawk net?
It sounds really aggressive.
Sounds amazing. Is that not the coolest sounding thing?
It is. It's like this big, massive net that even if there was a bear cub stuck in a tree and it fell down, you could catch the baby cub in it. So it's a big, massive net that we use. And it's really good because in flooding, we know that if there's floodwaters, we can scoop the animals up or we can, and it's difficult to handle too, which you'll see in one of the episodes with a Canadian goose. Didn't go as.
But everything we have are they're all really. We don't have a lot of room when we deploy in the field. Everything has its place, and so that the tomahawk net is a great tool in our toolkit that allows us to very gently grab an animal. We don't have to use a catch pole, which at times you have to put a pole, the loop at the end of it, that's a cable. And then you put that around the dog's neck. And this is usually when we have an aggressive animal. I don't like to do that. I like to try to be as gentle as possible, and the tomahawk net allows us to do that.
Cool. I want to talk a little bit more about the charity that you founded, the Never Stop Saving. If you could tell us a little bit about what it is, why you founded it, how it all came to be, and go into that.
Yeah, so like I'd mentioned before, I started Never Stop Saving, and when I was picking the name, I chose Never Stop Saving Animal Disaster Rescue Transport, not realizing how many times I'd have to say that. It's
rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, not at all. So we just referred to it as Never Stop Saving, and so I started that because of Moore, Oklahoma, which inspired me. But really, it's a group of individuals that go into the disaster zone, rescue the animals, and really want to inspire younger communities to get involved, whether it's they have a passion in search and rescue in natural disasters, or they just want to be a dog walker or work at a shelter. We just really hope that I started this organization hoping that it would inspire other people to get involved and to realize that animals don't have a voice. We need to be the voice for them. And there's so many people that help humans, which is amazing. It's very much needed, but we need more people out there for the animals because they can be trapped under rubble for days and days, and sometimes they stay silent. So we need those people out there, very dedicated, who are willing to search through a trash pile for 4 or 5 hours to make sure that there's nothing hiding underneath there.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think it's one of those things, like, especially when you're in that circumstance, right, where everything's going crazy and everyone's worried about, surviving of this storm and all that. People, especially people that don't have pets or maybe haven't had a pet, don't necessarily understand that they are, like, people that do have them, these are our family members as well. And sometimes the situation, you have to make these terrible decisions of, like, we'll have to come back, we'll have to figure it out. So it's super important that there's people out there working on that, helping them.
I mean, that just really hits the nail on the head, that these are not pets, these are our family members, and they're an important part of that group. And the people, when you've had your home blown up, or you've had a tornado go through your neighborhood, it's unrecognizable. When a big EF4 tornado goes through, there's nothing left above the surface of the earth. And when you've
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
No,
what happened?
Lamenting.
What did I miss?
She was meowing, so I knew it was going to happen. So I always interrupt them.
No, it's okay. It's really traumatic, and these people lose everything. It's horrible. It's very emotional when we're out there. And the one thing that we could do, that we're dedicated to doing, is during that moment. You got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll bring them back
Good
in
job.
a little bit. We'll bring them back, yeah, for sure.
We want to make sure that we get everybody back together again at the end of the day. And that's our, as safely and quickly as possible. And that's our biggest goal, is to have, after these families have lost everything they own, the least we could do is try to get their animals back. And it really makes an incredible difference in their lives.
Cool. I want to, a little bit, we're going to talk sort of about what people can do, those that have pets, to kind of prepare and get ahead of the game. And we'll get there in a little bit. Before we do that, I just want to hear some stories. I've got one, and Dustin, indulge me, this is a dumb question, but I saw that you were certified in animal CPR, and I want to know the smallest animal and the largest animal that you've ever had to perform animal CPR on.
We're just going to...
Come on, what do we got?
We're not going to get into that.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
No, that hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
Yeah. Thankfully, all the animals that we have rescued, although they've been moments away from dying, they haven't needed CPR. For instance, like wildfires, when we respond to wildfires,
right,
those are the worst situations for the animals, because they've got third-degree burns, upper respiratory infections, their eyes are swollen closed, their whiskers and all their senses are singed off. So it's like we have to work quickly, but thankfully, they've been responsive, so we haven't actually had to do CPR, thank goodness.
Oh, that's probably the best answer to that question, is that you haven't had to use it. Yeah. Although I was hoping for, like a
fish?
I don't know. Yeah, exactly.
CPR and a fish.
Exactly. I wanted something. I don't know. For the shot. Put it out there.
Fine, but during the Wenatchee, at the Middletown, during the Middletown fires, there were kois that had to be rescued.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there's everything out there that you could possibly make. People have all kinds of different interests, in not just dogs and cats, but
for sure,
the firefighters were grabbing buckets of water to put these koi in, and then trying to find somewhere to store them safely while the rescue efforts continued.
Awesome. Before we turn it over to audience Q&A, I was wondering, what's probably the most, of all the rescues you've done, give us a story. What's probably the one that sticks with you the most, the one that was the most impactful, the one that you walked away and you were like, man, I was really glad we were here today. This was just give me a crazy story, because I'm sure you've got countless.
For me, one of my favorite rescues, and there are many, we had met a lady, Laura, and this is when we were in California for the Valley wildfires. That's water, right?
Well, yeah, mostly.
That's water.
No, it's water. It's 100% water, yeah.
I'm just making sure there's not a shot of so there was this lady, Laura, and she had been evacuated at the time of the wildfire. So she was out of town. She had no idea if her house was standing, if it had survived the area. And she had her 2 dogs with her at the time, but she did not have her cat. So she told us, once you can get into Cobb, or please, here's my address, break down the door might be open, but do what you have to do. So once it was safe enough to get into that area, we pulled up to the neighborhood, and almost every house in that neighborhood was destroyed. But as we get closer to her address, we see that her house is actually standing. So first I'm like, oh my goodness, thank goodness we have some good news. So we get into her house, and we're able to call her and let her know that her house is standing, and she starts bawling immediately, and I'm a suck, so then I start bawling, and they're all like, Karissa, I'm always crying. And then The cats weren't inside the house, but we spent a few hours looking for them. We set a trap, came back a couple hours later. The first one, Aiko, was in the trap, so hearing Aiko meowing from the distance was great. And then it wasn't till the next morning that we got Comstock in a trap as well. So to be able to give both of her cats back safe and they were completely unharmed, and also tell her that her house survived, just watching her reaction was amazing.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for that story. Thank you guys so much for the work that you guys are doing out there. It's incredible, and I'm excited to watch the show. I want to talk now real quick. Like I said, storm season's coming up. People that do have pets, we're live. There's people here. Everyone's watching. What can we do to make sure that we're prepared, that we're doing the right things? What are some best practices, things to know going in, so that way we are cognizant of our little furry buddies, and we're making sure we're taking care of them? What can we do?
Yeah, I would say if you have pets, a family, or it's just yourself, have an emergency plan set in place for your animals and get them microchipped. Microchipping is key for us because we travel with scanners. So if we can scan and they have a microchip and we call the provider, that gives us your information and possibly emergency contact information. So we can reunite that animal to you so much quicker. Because if you have a collar, that collar could come off. If it has rabies tags or anything, that collar could come off. So the microchip is key to have. Make sure you have a picture of you and your cat or your dog, because a lot of animal rescue organizations won't just hand over the cat or the dog when you show a picture, because you could have saved that picture from a friend. So taking a picture of you and the animal and having proof of ownership is great. Get 1 to 2 weeks, preferably 2 weeks, a supply of food handy. Just get a duffel bag of, treats, their favorite toys, leashes, water, their medication. Just build a little emergency kit, and also find out where your local animal-friendly hotels are. So that way, if you need to not only step outside of your immediate town, but maybe a couple towns outside, an hour or so, that way you know exactly where you can bring your animal.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. Let's go ahead and turn it over. I think we got some mics out there. We'll do a little audience Q&A. First one right here in the front.
Hey there, guys. Thank you and welcome. My question to you is, although ideally I know that you would be there before, during, and after any crisis to help and save all those involved, but would you say more often than not that you are either a proactive or reactive force in aiding victims of natural disasters?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's good.
We're always monitoring Eric, our forecaster, he's always on top of looking at the forecast, letting us know if there's a potential for high flooding, tornadoes. During tornado season, we're out there storm chasing so we can go right after. But sometimes with flood forecasts, like what's going on in Louisiana right now, it might be days before we can even get in safely, because we don't want to become the victim. So it's a bit of a combination of being reactive right away, or maybe having to wait 24 to 48 hours for the floodwaters to subside before we can even safely get in there. And there's also a lot of steps we have to take with checking in with incident commanders, showing our credentials, building our teams, working with other rescue organizations. So it's kind of both. Did that answer?
Yeah, it's a great question. There's, like you were just saying, there's a lot of logistics that take place once we arrive somewhere, and that part of that, like you were talking about, is checking in with the incident command system that's already established. And then another one of the biggest assets that we have on the ground is the community that we work with. That we go into these areas and we integrate with their EMS system and fire, work with these people, work with the different shelters that are there and veterinary hospitals. And through that community, we're able to do our job. If we didn't have a really tight community to work with, it'd be a lot harder to do what we do. And so it really takes everybody in that chain to have a successful mission.
Next.
Hi, thanks for being here. What was the most challenging animal rescue you faced during this season?
Ooh, most challenging. Possibly
Under the deck?
Well, there was a situation under the deck, but I would say the pit bull maybe. It wasn't aggressive or anything like that, but it was in this field and it was barking. It was, completely just, it was displaced and it just wasn't familiar. So we had to really take a lot of time and patience working on that dog to get it, friendly with us. I think we went through, 3 bags of beef jerky and water and whatnot. So sometimes the most challenging ones are the animals that just don't, take time themselves to trust us because they don't know where their humans are. So you'll see in the San Marcos flooding episode, I think it might be the last episode actually, the pit bull that was kind of barking like crazy and just very out of sorts. That was a challenging rescue for us. And because it had never been on a leash before, it just, the owner had it just in its farm and it just ran free. So then when we put the leash on it and I was trying to run to the car, it just like flopped. It was like, I am not going anywhere. So I'm like, oh, so then it was
tummy
like
rubs.
dragging the dog. Yeah.
It's crazy. We're going to take our final question from an online viewer. So Larry would like to know, what is the most exotic animal you've ever rescued?
Exotic? Well, we did help a miniature pony. I mean, it's not very exotic like a macaw or a snake, a boa constrictor, but I would say, yeah, probably the miniature pony is a little bit outside of your domesticated cat and dog, and we've helped out with horses as well, and
We've looked for, there
goats,
What's
Goat,
the
pigs,
typical
chickens.
bears.
like the typical disposition of a miniature pony? Just out of, I'm not buying one or anything, but I mean, I might be. What are they like? Are they hyper? Are they calm? What is it? Anything
No,
from a regular horse?
they're
Is
pretty
it
calm. They're
yeah?
pretty calm. I mean, they just kind of want to graze and eat grass all day and,
what a
and do
life.
their thing. But this in particular pony had been severely injured by some flying debris, so it wasn't moving far at all. And,
Oh, man.
Yeah. So.
He's
but-
all right now, right? Yeah.
Pardon?
Pony's all right now. You see?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Well, thank goodness.
Yeah, we got it to the veterinary clinic and did some X-rays for it, and we were able to help house the pony at the veterinary clinic while it got care for a couple weeks until the family could build the stable for it again, or at least a pen. So we were really thankful to help them out.
Well, that's awesome. Guys, I can't thank you enough for being here and bringing your friends with us. The show, Animal Storm Squad, Nat Geo Wild, tomorrow, 10 p.m. Is that the premiere? It's the first
10
episode,
p.m.
isn't it?
first episode tomorrow.
It's amazing. We're all going to watch, right? We're all there. Of course. Thank you so much again. I can't wait to watch it. I can't wait for the next season.
Thank you so much.